For 6 years, Victoria Chen had been the invisible backbone of Sterling Financial Group, working nights and weekends to build their most profitable division, while watching less qualified colleagues receive promotions she deserved. When she finally handed in her resignation letter, her arrogant boss Marcus Blackwood burst into laughter and said, "Good luck finding anyone willing to hire a glorified secretary." 3 months later, that same resignation letter was framed on the wall of her corner office at Sterling's biggest competitor, right above the contract that had just cost Marcus his job. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. Victoria Chen stood in the supply room of Sterling Financial Group at 7:30 on a Tuesday morning, methodically organizing client files that should have been handled by the administrative staff 3 levels below her actual qualifications. As Senior Portfolio Coordinator, she possessed an MBA in Finance from Wharton and 6 years of demonstrated excellence in client relationship management, yet she found herself performing tasks that any competent intern could complete with minimal supervision. The irony was not lost on Victoria that she managed investment portfolios worth over $200 million while being treated as expendable support staff by executives who possessed half her education and a fraction of her practical experience. She had joined Sterling Financial Group immediately after graduate school, attracted by their reputation for innovative investment strategies and supposedly merit-based advancement opportunities that had proven to be elaborate fiction during her tenure. At 31, Victoria had sacrificed countless personal opportunities and relationships to build Sterling's private wealth management division from a struggling afterthought into their most profitable department. She had personally recruited 17 of their top 20 clients through relationship building, strategic networking, and investment performance that consistently exceeded market benchmarks by significant margins. The morning routine that brought Victoria to the supply room before most employees arrived had become her sanctuary for processing the daily frustration of working beneath her capabilities while watching mediocre performers advance through connections rather than competence. She used these quiet moments to review client communications, analyze market trends, and prepare investment recommendations that would eventually be presented by her supervisor, Marcus Blackwood, as his own insights and strategic thinking. Marcus represented everything Victoria despised about corporate advancement systems that prioritized pedigree over performance. His Harvard MBA and family connections to Sterling's founding partners had secured him the Director of Private Wealth Management position, despite demonstrating limited understanding of financial markets, poor client relationship skills, and a management style that alternated between micromanagement and complete negligence depending on his mood and external pressures. Victoria's phone buzzed with a text message from her sister Jennifer, a successful surgeon at Johns Hopkins, who had consistently encouraged Victoria to pursue opportunities that matched her qualifications and ambitions. "Sis, remember that life is too short to spend it proving your worth to people who will never recognize it. You deserve better than what you are accepting." The message resonated deeply because Victoria had recently begun questioning whether her loyalty to Sterling Financial Group represented admirable persistence or self-defeating stubbornness. She had remained with the company through 6 years of being overlooked for promotions, having her ideas attributed to male colleagues, and watching less qualified individuals advance, while her contributions remained minimized and undervalued. The supply room door opened as Marcus Blackwood entered, clearly irritated about having to locate files that Victoria had organized for optimal accessibility. His presence immediately shifted the atmosphere from peaceful reflection to tense anticipation of whatever unreasonable demand or condescending comment would follow his arrival. "Victoria, I need the Morrison Industries portfolio analysis that was supposed to be completed yesterday. The client meeting is in 2 hours, and I cannot present incomplete information to potential investors of that caliber." Victoria maintained her professional composure, despite knowing that she had completed the Morrison analysis 3 days earlier and submitted it through the proper channels, only to have it buried beneath Marcus's accumulating pile of unreviewed documents. She had learned to prepare for such situations by maintaining backup copies of all critical work to prevent client relationships from suffering due to management incompetence. "The Morrison analysis has been complete since Friday, Marcus. I submitted it through the system and also placed a hard copy on your desk with a summary memo highlighting the key recommendations and risk assessments." Marcus's expression shifted from irritation to defensive anger, as he realized his oversight had created the crisis he was attempting to blame on Victoria's performance. Rather than acknowledging his mistake or expressing appreciation for her proactive preparation, he doubled down on criticism to deflect responsibility for his own shortcomings. If you had communicated more clearly about the urgency of this analysis, I would have prioritized reviewing it appropriately. Going forward, I expect you to follow up on important submissions to ensure they receive adequate attention rather than assuming I have time to track every document that crosses my desk. Victoria felt the familiar surge of frustration that accompanied these interactions, where Marcus transformed his mistakes into teaching moments about her supposedly inadequate communication skills. She had documented dozens of similar incidents over the years, initially thinking the patterns might be useful for human resources discussions that never materialized into meaningful change. The Morrison Industries portfolio represented one of Victoria's most significant client relationship successes, involving 18 months of research, relationship building, and strategic planning that had convinced the family office to transfer their entire investment portfolio to Sterling Financial Group. The account generated over $4 million in annual fees, while requiring minimal ongoing management due to Victoria's thorough preparation and systematic approach. I understand your expectations, Marcus. I will ensure that future submissions include additional follow-up communications to prevent any confusion about priority levels or review timelines. Victoria had perfected the art of professional responses that acknowledged concerns without accepting responsibility for problems caused by management failures. These carefully crafted responses protected her reputation while avoiding confrontations that could escalate into formal disciplinary actions or create additional workplace tension. Marcus retrieved the Morrison analysis from his office and spent 15 minutes reviewing work that Victoria had refined through multiple revisions and peer consultations. His review process consisted primarily of searching for minor formatting issues or stylistic preferences that he could critique to justify his supervisory role, rather than engaging with the substantive financial analysis and strategic recommendations. This analysis is adequate for today's presentation, but I want you to revise the executive summary to better emphasize the growth potential and minimize discussion of market risks that might discourage investment decisions. Clients prefer optimistic projections rather than excessive caution about potential challenges. Victoria recognized this request as another example of Marcus's tendency to prioritize short-term client satisfaction over long-term relationship integrity and fiduciary responsibility. Her analysis had carefully balanced growth opportunities with realistic risk assessments that would help clients make informed decisions, rather than encouraging unrealistic expectations that could damage trust when market conditions inevitably shifted. I can certainly adjust the emphasis in the executive summary, though I would recommend maintaining the risk assessment section since the Morrison family has specifically requested comprehensive analyses that includes potential challenges alongside opportunities. Their investment committee values thorough evaluation over optimistic projections. Marcus's response revealed his fundamental misunderstanding of client relationship management and the factors that distinguished Sterling's private wealth management division from competitors who prioritize sales over service quality. His suggestions consistently pushed towards superficial optimism rather than the analytical rigor that had built client trust and loyalty. Victoria, you need to understand that our role is to inspire confidence in our investment strategies, rather than creating unnecessary anxiety about hypothetical risks that may never materialize. Successful client relationships depend on demonstrating optimism and conviction, rather than academic analysis that confuses decision-making. The philosophical gap between Victoria's professional approach and Marcus's sales-focused perspective had widened consistently during her tenure at Sterling Financial Group. She believed in building client relationships through competence, transparency, and consistent performance, while Marcus prioritized presentation style and short-term emotional management over substantive value creation. Victoria spent the remainder of the morning revising the Morrison analysis according to Marcus's specifications, while documenting the changes and maintaining the original version for her personal records. She had learned to protect herself and her clients by preserving comprehensive analysis even when supervisory pressure required simplified presentations that omitted critical information. The client meeting proceeded exactly as Victoria had anticipated, with Marcus presenting her analysis as his own work while demonstrating limited understanding of the underlying research and strategic reasoning that supported the recommendations. She observed from the back of the conference room as he struggled to answer detailed questions about methodology and risk assessment that extended beyond the superficial presentation he had memorized. Following the successful client meeting, Marcus approached Victoria with the patronizing smile that typically preceded attempts to take credit for positive outcomes, while distancing himself from any potential problems or criticisms that might emerge later. Excellent work on the Morrison presentation preparation, Victoria. This is exactly the kind of behind-the-scenes support that makes our department successful. Your attention to detail and thorough preparation allows me to focus on the strategic client relationship management that drives business development. Victoria nodded politely while internally noting that Marcus's definition of strategic client relationship management consisted primarily of reading her analysis aloud and deflecting technical questions to subordinates when his superficial understanding proved insufficient for substantive discussions. That evening, Victoria sat in her downtown apartment reviewing job postings and considering whether 6 years of demonstrated excellence at Sterling Financial Group had positioned her for advancement opportunities elsewhere, or whether the systematic undervaluation of her contributions had actually damaged her professional trajectory by associating her with a subordinate role that failed to reflect her capabilities. The apartment walls displayed her academic achievements, professional certifications, and client appreciation letters that told a story of exceptional competence and consistent performance that remained invisible within Sterling's organizational hierarchy. She had built an impressive portfolio of evidence that should have supported rapid advancement, yet found herself trapped in a position that utilized perhaps 30% of her education and experience. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Victoria's reflection on her professional situation revealed a pattern of systematic exclusion from strategic planning discussions, business development opportunities, and client relationship management responsibilities that should have been natural progressions from her demonstrated competence and established client relationships. Instead, she remained categorized as support staff despite functioning as the primary relationship manager for the department's most valuable accounts. The realization that struck Victoria with unexpected clarity was that her loyalty to Sterling Financial Group had become an obstacle to her professional development rather than an investment in long-term advancement. The company had benefited enormously from her expertise and dedication, while providing minimal recognition, compensation, or opportunity in return. Victoria opened her laptop and began composing a resignation letter that would force Sterling Financial Group to confront the reality of her value and the cost of their systematic undervaluation of exceptional talent. The letter would serve as both her exit strategy and her final professional communication to an organization that had failed to recognize what they were losing until it was too late to prevent the consequences. Victoria Chen possessed a combination of analytical brilliance and practical market insight that distinguished her from conventional financial professionals who relied primarily on theoretical frameworks and historical data analysis. Her unique approach to investment strategy development incorporated behavioral economics, demographic trend analysis, and cultural pattern recognition that enabled her to identify emerging opportunities months before they appeared on traditional financial radar systems. Her educational background represented far more than the MBA credential that appeared on her employee profile. Victoria had completed dual concentrations in international finance and behavioral economics, graduating summa cum laude, while conducting independent research on cross-cultural investment patterns that had been published in 3 peer-reviewed journals. This academic foundation provided sophisticated analytical tools that she applied daily to client portfolio management and market opportunity identification. The research methodology Victoria had developed during graduate school enabled her to process vast amounts of market data and identify subtle patterns that escaped detection by analysts who focused exclusively on traditional financial metrics. She tracked demographic shifts, cultural trends, regulatory changes, and technological developments across multiple markets simultaneously, creating comprehensive intelligence that informed investment decisions with remarkable accuracy and consistency. Victoria's linguistic capabilities added another dimension to her analytical advantage. Fluent in Mandarin, Cantonese, Spanish, and conversational in Japanese, she could access primary source information from international markets while building relationships with clients and partners who valued communication in their native languages. This linguistic access provided competitive intelligence and relationship opportunities that monolingual colleagues could not duplicate. Her family background had instilled values of persistence, analytical thinking, and strategic patience that served her exceptionally well in financial markets characterized by short-term volatility and emotional decision-making. Victoria's parents had immigrated from Taiwan with advanced engineering degrees, establishing successful careers through meticulous preparation and consistent excellence rather than networking or political maneuvering. These values shaped Victoria's professional approach and provided resilience during challenging market conditions. The client relationship management skills Victoria had developed transcended conventional sales techniques to encompass genuine partnership building based on mutual respect and demonstrated value creation. She invested significant time understanding each client's family dynamics, business challenges, personal values, and long-term objectives before recommending investment strategies that aligned with their complete financial picture, rather than simply maximizing fee generation. Victoria's systematic approach to client portfolio management included quarterly comprehensive reviews that examined performance relative to stated objectives, risk tolerance alignment, market condition impacts, and strategic adjustments needed to maintain optimal positioning. These thorough evaluations had earned exceptional client loyalty and consistent referrals that generated sustainable business growth without aggressive marketing or promotional expenses. Her technological proficiency extended well beyond standard financial software applications to include advanced data analysis tools, programming languages, and artificial intelligence applications that enhanced research efficiency and pattern recognition accuracy. Victoria had taught herself Python, R, and SQL to automate routine analysis tasks while developing sophisticated models that identified investment opportunities through complex variable relationships. The professional network Victoria had cultivated included contacts across diverse industries, geographic regions, and organizational levels that provided comprehensive market intelligence and opportunity identification. Unlike colleagues who focused primarily on financial sector relationships, Victoria maintained connections with technology entrepreneurs, manufacturing executives, healthcare administrators, and government officials who offered insights into economic trends from multiple perspectives. Victoria's understanding of generational wealth transfer patterns had positioned her as an expert in family office dynamics and multi-generational investment planning. She recognized that the largest wealth transfer in human history would occur during the next 2 decades, as baby boomers passed assets to their children and grandchildren, creating enormous opportunities for financial advisors who understood the complex emotional and practical challenges involved in these transitions. Her analysis of environmental, social, and governance investment trends had identified this growing movement years before it became mainstream financial industry focus. Victoria understood that younger investors increasingly demanded portfolio alignment with personal values, creating demand for sustainable investment strategies that generated competitive returns while supporting environmental and social objectives. The risk management frameworks Victoria had developed incorporated lessons learned from multiple market cycles, international financial crises, and sector-specific disruptions that provided robust protection against various threat scenarios. Her approach balanced conservative asset protection with growth opportunity capture through sophisticated diversification strategies that adjusted automatically based on changing market conditions and client circumstances. Victoria's ability to translate complex financial concepts into accessible language that clients could understand and act upon had become one of her most valuable professional assets. She recognized that successful investment relationships depended on client education and engagement rather than mysterious expertise that created dependence without understanding. Her communication approach built client confidence while enabling informed decision-making participation. The cultural competency Victoria had developed through international education and diverse professional relationships enabled her to work effectively with clients from various backgrounds, while understanding cultural factors that influenced investment preferences and risk tolerance. This cultural awareness had proven particularly valuable as Sterling's client base became increasingly international and diverse. Victoria's strategic thinking capability extended beyond individual investment decisions to encompass comprehensive wealth management planning that integrated tax optimization, estate planning, charitable giving strategies, and business succession planning. She understood that affluent clients required coordinated professional services rather than isolated investment management, creating opportunities for deeper relationships and expanded service provision. Her market timing intuition, developed through years of careful observation and pattern analysis, had enabled Victoria to protect client portfolios during market downturns while positioning them for recovery gains that exceeded broader market performance. This consistent outperformance had generated substantial client wealth appreciation while building trust and confidence in her strategic guidance. The operational efficiency Victoria had brought to Sterling's private wealth management division included streamlined client communication systems, automated reporting procedures, and standardized service delivery protocols that reduced administrative overhead while improving client satisfaction. These process improvements had enabled the department to manage larger asset volumes without proportional staff increases. Victoria's competitive analysis and market positioning research had identified specific service gaps in the regional financial advisory market that Sterling could exploit through targeted service development and strategic marketing. Her recommendations had guided successful expansion into underserved market segments while avoiding areas with excessive competition or limited growth potential. The intellectual curiosity that drove Victoria's continuous learning had led her to complete advanced certifications in estate planning, tax strategy, and alternative investments that enhanced her service capabilities while differentiating her expertise from generalist financial advisors. She maintained active membership in professional organizations that provided ongoing education and networking opportunities. Victoria's client retention rate exceeded 95% annually, significantly higher than industry averages, and dramatically superior to her colleagues' performance metrics. This retention resulted from consistent service excellence, proactive communication, superior investment performance, and genuine personal relationships that extended beyond purely financial interactions. Her ability to identify and develop emerging investment opportunities had generated alpha returns that consistently exceeded benchmark performance while maintaining appropriate risk levels for client objectives. Victoria's track record included early identification of technology trends, demographic shifts, and regulatory changes that created substantial portfolio appreciation for clients who followed her recommendations. The mentoring relationships Victoria had developed with junior staff members had created informal succession planning while building departmental expertise and improving overall service delivery quality. Her coaching and development efforts had prepared several colleagues for advancement opportunities while ensuring continuity of client service during personnel transitions. Victoria's strategic vision for Sterling's private wealth management division included expansion opportunities, service enhancement possibilities, and competitive positioning strategies that could transform the department from regional player to national recognition. However, these insights remained largely unutilized due to organizational hierarchy that prevented strategic input from her current position level. The documentation systems Victoria had implemented created comprehensive records of client interactions, investment decisions, performance analysis, and strategic planning that provided transparency and accountability, while facilitating seamless service delivery during team member absences or personnel changes. These systems had become essential infrastructure for departmental operations. Sterling Financial Group operated according to entrenched institutional practices that had evolved during its 40-year history as a traditional wealth management firm serving established families and conservative investors. The organizational culture reflected old-guard financial industry values that prioritized personal connections, prestigious educational credentials, and adherence to conventional investment approaches over innovative thinking or performance-based advancement opportunities. The company's leadership structure consisted entirely of individuals who had progressed through predictable career trajectories that began with Ivy League educations, followed by positions at white shoe investment banks, and culminated in senior roles obtained through networking rather than demonstrated expertise in client relationship management or portfolio performance excellence. This homogeneous leadership background created systematic blind spots regarding alternative pathways to competence and non-traditional sources of strategic insight. Marcus Blackwood exemplified Sterling's leadership profile as someone whose advancement resulted from family connections to founding partners rather than professional achievement or client development success. His Harvard MBA and summer internships at Goldman Sachs had provided sufficient credentials for rapid promotion despite demonstrating limited understanding of contemporary investment strategies, poor communication skills with diverse client populations, and management approaches that discouraged innovation or independent thinking among subordinates. The performance evaluation system at Sterling Financial Group emphasized subjective assessments of cultural fit and communication style, rather than objective measurements of client satisfaction, portfolio performance, or revenue generation. Annual reviews focused on personality characteristics and perceived leadership potential, rather than quantifiable contributions to departmental success or client relationship development, creating advancement criteria that favored conformity over competence. Promotion decisions occurred through informal discussions among senior partners, who relied heavily on personal impressions and social compatibility rather than systematic evaluation of professional capabilities or track record analysis. These conversations typically took place during golf outings, private dinners, or exclusive social events that excluded employees like Victoria who lacked access to informal networking opportunities that influenced career advancement decisions. The compensation structure at Sterling reflected traditional assumptions about employee value and contribution levels that systematically undervalued client-facing professionals while rewarding administrative oversight and business development activities. Base salaries remained relatively modest across all levels, with significant income potential tied to bonus distributions that senior management controlled according to subjective criteria and personal preferences rather than transparent performance metrics. Victoria's position as Senior Portfolio Coordinator placed her in an organizational category that limited advancement opportunities regardless of performance excellence or client relationship success. The company's job classification system created artificial barriers between operational roles and strategic positions that prevented lateral movement or promotion based on demonstrated capability rather than educational pedigree or internal sponsorship. The departmental structure within private wealth management reinforced hierarchical boundaries that restricted Victoria's access to strategic planning discussions, business development meetings, and client acquisition activities that would provide natural opportunities for demonstrating leadership potential and strategic thinking capabilities. Her exclusion from these activities resulted from organizational assumptions about appropriate role boundaries rather than assessment of individual qualifications or interests. Sterling's client interaction protocols required all strategic communications and relationship management activities to flow through designated relationship managers, typically senior professionals with director-level titles, who often possessed less technical expertise and weaker client rapport than subordinates who performed the actual portfolio analysis and service delivery work. This structure protected senior staff from accountability while limiting growth opportunities for capable professionals. The company's business development approach emphasized relationship building within established social and professional networks that excluded individuals without appropriate family backgrounds or educational credentials. Client acquisition strategies focused on referrals from existing affluent clients and connections through exclusive social organizations, rather than demonstrating superior service quality or investment performance to broader market segments. Training and professional development opportunities at Sterling prioritized senior staff attendance at industry conferences, advanced certification programs, and executive education courses, while limiting access for mid-level employees, regardless of their potential contributions or strategic value to organizational growth. These restrictions reinforced existing hierarchies while preventing talented individuals from acquiring credentials that might support advancement arguments. The physical office environment at Sterling reflected and reinforced status distinctions through space allocation, furniture quality, and technological resources that corresponded to organizational hierarchy rather than functional requirements or client interaction needs. Senior professionals occupied corner offices with windows and premium amenities, while capable contributors like Victoria worked in interior spaces with dated equipment and limited privacy for confidential client communications. Communication systems within the organization relied heavily on formal channels and scheduled meetings that excluded non-senior staff from strategic discussions and decision-making processes. Email distribution lists, project management access, and planning documentation remained restricted according to title levels, rather than functional involvement or expertise relevance, creating information barriers that limited understanding of organizational priorities and opportunities. The company's risk management culture emphasized avoiding criticism or negative outcomes rather than pursuing innovative opportunities or competitive advantages that might involve uncertainty or unconventional approaches. This conservative bias discouraged creative problem-solving and alternative strategies that could differentiate Sterling's services while limiting growth potential in rapidly evolving financial markets. Sterling's marketing and brand positioning strategies focused on heritage, stability, and traditional values rather than performance excellence, innovative approaches, or superior client outcomes that might attract growth-oriented investors or younger wealth accumulation demographics. This positioning limited the company's appeal to evolving market segments while reinforcing preference for conventional relationship management approaches. The organizational decision-making process concentrated authority among senior partners who often lacked current market knowledge or technical expertise necessary for evaluating contemporary investment strategies or client service innovations. Important decisions about technology adoption, service expansion, or market positioning frequently reflected personal preferences rather than analytical assessment of competitive positioning or client demand trends. Professional networking and industry relationship-building opportunities remained concentrated among senior staff who represented Sterling at conferences, industry association meetings, and client entertainment events, while capable professionals like Victoria remained excluded from activities that could enhance their visibility and career development prospects within the broader financial services community. The company's succession planning process focused exclusively on identifying and developing candidates who matched existing leadership profiles rather than recognizing diverse talents or alternative competency sources that might strengthen organizational capability or competitive positioning. This narrow approach to talent development perpetuated existing limitations while failing to prepare for changing industry requirements or client demographic shifts. Sterling's technology infrastructure reflected organizational resistance to change and innovation that limited operational efficiency while creating competitive disadvantages relative to more agile financial services firms that embraced digital tools and automated processes. Outdated systems required manual processes that consumed significant professional time while limiting analytical capabilities and client service quality. The performance management system at Sterling emphasized maintaining existing client relationships and preserving asset levels, rather than growing accounts, acquiring new clients, or achieving superior investment returns that could differentiate the firm's value proposition. This focus on stability over growth created complacency, while limiting incentives for excellence or innovation that could enhance competitive positioning. Organizational culture at Sterling discouraged questioning established practices or suggesting alternative approaches that might improve efficiency, client satisfaction, or competitive positioning. The emphasis on conformity and tradition created an environment where innovative thinking was viewed as disruptive rather than valuable, limiting opportunities for capable professionals to contribute strategic insights or process improvements. The company's approach to client service delivery prioritized maintaining existing protocols and procedures rather than adapting to changing client expectations or market conditions that required more responsive and personalized approaches. This inflexibility limited Sterling's ability to compete effectively with more adaptive competitors, while creating frustration among clients who expected contemporary service standards and technological capabilities. The pivotal moment that would alter Victoria's professional trajectory arrived on a cold February morning, when she discovered Marcus Blackwood presenting her comprehensive market analysis to Sterling's board of directors as his own original research. Victoria had spent 3 weeks developing the presentation that examined emerging opportunities in sustainable technology investments, combining demographic research, regulatory analysis, and financial projections that demonstrated substantial growth potential for environmentally focused portfolios. Victoria's discovery occurred through an inadvertent email forwarding error when Marcus accidentally included her address while distributing presentation materials to board members. The email contained detailed speaker notes that revealed his intention to present her work without attribution, while positioning himself as the strategic visionary who had identified these lucrative investment opportunities independently. The presentation represented Victoria's most sophisticated analytical work, incorporating months of research into environmental regulations, technology patents, consumer behavior shifts, and international policy trends that would influence sustainable investment performance over the next decade. Her analysis had identified specific companies and sectors positioned for exceptional growth, as environmental considerations became increasingly important to investment decision-making across all demographic segments. Victoria's initial response combined professional outrage with strategic calculation, as she considered appropriate responses to this blatant intellectual theft that violated both professional ethics and Sterling's stated commitment to collaborative excellence. The incident crystallized years of accumulated frustration about systematic credit appropriation, while providing concrete evidence of the exploitation that had characterized her entire tenure at the firm. The board presentation was scheduled for 10 o'clock that morning, giving Victoria minimal time to decide whether to expose Marcus's plagiarism immediately or document the incident for strategic use at a more opportune moment. Her decision would need to balance immediate satisfaction of confronting unethical behavior against longer-term considerations about her career prospects and relationship management within Sterling's organizational hierarchy. Victoria chose to attend the board presentation as an observer, positioning herself in the back of the conference room where she could witness Marcus's performance while documenting his presentation of her work for potential future reference. The experience of watching him receive credit and praise for her intellectual labor proved more devastating than she had anticipated, creating emotional clarity about the impossibility of achieving recognition within Sterling's existing organizational structure. Marcus's presentation performance revealed his fundamental lack of understanding regarding the analysis he was presenting, as he struggled to answer detailed questions about methodology, data sources, and strategic implications that extended beyond the superficial talking points he had memorized. Victoria observed board members exchanging concerned glances as Marcus's responses demonstrated obvious unfamiliarity with his own supposed research findings. The most damaging moment occurred when board member Patricia Wellington asked about specific regulatory implications for international sustainable investments, a complex topic that Victoria had addressed comprehensively in her original analysis, but that Marcus could not discuss intelligently. His awkward deflection and promise to provide additional information later undermined his credibility while highlighting the disconnect between presentation quality and presenter expertise. Following the board meeting, Victoria encountered Patricia Wellington in the parking garage, where the distinguished board member expressed private concerns about Marcus's leadership capabilities and apparent lack of substantive knowledge about contemporary investment trends. Patricia's comments suggested that other board members shared similar doubts about Marcus's competence and strategic vision for the private wealth management division. Patricia Wellington's background as former chief investment officer at a major pension fund provided her with sufficient expertise to recognize exceptional analysis when she encountered it, and she had been impressed by the presentation content despite harboring reservations about the presenter's obvious unfamiliarity with the material. Her comments to Victoria revealed an unexpected opportunity for establishing direct relationships with senior decision-makers who possessed authority to influence organizational changes. Victoria realized that Patricia's casual conversation represented a critical juncture where she could either maintain professional silence about Marcus's plagiarism or reveal the truth about authorship while demonstrating her superior knowledge of the presented material. The decision carried significant risks regarding organizational politics and potential retaliation, but also offered possibilities for bypassing traditional advancement barriers through direct board member relationships. The conversation with Patricia Wellington evolved into an impromptu consultation, as Victoria provided detailed explanations about sustainable investment strategies, regulatory environments, and market opportunities that demonstrated comprehensive expertise, far exceeding anything Marcus had displayed during his formal presentation. Patricia's growing recognition of Victoria's knowledge and analytical capability created immediate respect and interest in her professional background. Patricia's subsequent questions about Victoria's role in developing the presentation analysis created an opportunity for honest disclosure about the systematic attribution problems that prevented recognition of her contributions while limiting advancement opportunities. Victoria's careful explanation of these dynamics revealed organizational issues that concerned Patricia as someone responsible for Sterling's strategic oversight and performance evaluation. The parking garage conversation concluded with Patricia Wellington's invitation for Victoria to prepare a comprehensive strategic analysis of Sterling's competitive positioning and growth opportunities for private presentation to interested board members. This unprecedented request circumvented traditional reporting relationships while providing Victoria with direct access to senior decision-makers who possessed authority to implement meaningful organizational changes. Victoria's drive home that evening provided time for reflection about the dramatic shift in her professional circumstances that had occurred within a single morning. The devastating experience of watching Marcus receive credit for her work had been transformed into an opportunity for direct board engagement that could accelerate her career advancement while exposing the systematic problems that limited Sterling's organizational effectiveness. The strategic implications of Patricia Wellington's invitation extended far beyond Victoria's individual advancement prospects to encompass comprehensive organizational assessment that could influence Sterling's future direction and leadership structure. Victoria recognized that her response to this opportunity would require exceptional preparation and strategic thinking that could establish her reputation as a valuable consultant to senior management. Victoria spent the weekend developing a preliminary framework for the strategic analysis that Patricia Wellington had requested, focusing on competitive positioning challenges, technological adaptation requirements, and demographic shifts that would influence Sterling's long-term viability in evolving financial services markets. Her analysis would need to balance diplomatic criticism of current practices with constructive recommendations for improvement and growth. The framework Victoria developed incorporated her extensive knowledge of Sterling's operational limitations, client relationship challenges, and strategic blind spots that resulted from leadership insularity and resistance to innovation. Her analysis would provide board members with comprehensive understanding of problems they might not recognize, while offering specific solutions that could improve competitive positioning and organizational effectiveness. Victoria's strategic approach to the board presentation focused on demonstrating her analytical capabilities and strategic thinking while establishing credibility as someone who understood both Sterling's challenges and industry best practices that could guide improvement efforts. Her presentation would need to prove her value as strategic advisor while avoiding direct criticism of specific individuals that might create unnecessary political complications. The opportunity created by Patricia Wellington's invitation represented validation of Victoria's professional capabilities while providing platform for demonstrating expertise that had remained invisible within Sterling's traditional hierarchy. Her preparation for this presentation would require integration of all her analytical skills, strategic knowledge, and communication abilities to create maximum impact and establish foundation for future advancement opportunities. Victoria's reflection on the morning's events revealed that Marcus's plagiarism had inadvertently created the catalyst necessary for transcending organizational limitations that had constrained her career development. The incident had forced her to choose between accepting continued exploitation and pursuing alternative pathways to recognition and advancement that could transform her professional trajectory. The weekend preparation period provided Victoria with focused time to develop comprehensive strategic analysis that would demonstrate her value to Sterling's leadership while positioning her for advanced responsibilities that matched her qualifications and capabilities. Her approach would need to balance immediate demonstration of competence with longer-term relationship building that could support sustained career advancement. Victoria's strategic analysis would incorporate recommendations for technology upgrades, service expansion opportunities, client acquisition strategies, and organizational development initiatives that could improve Sterling's competitive positioning while creating advancement opportunities for talented professionals regardless of their traditional credentials or networking advantages. Her recommendations would address systemic problems while providing constructive solutions. Victoria's apartment transformed into a strategic command center during the 3 weeks following her encounter with Patricia Wellington. Her dining room table disappeared beneath financial reports, competitive analysis documents, industry research publications, and hand-drawn organizational charts that mapped Sterling's operational inefficiencies against best practice models from leading wealth management firms across the country. The comprehensive strategic analysis Victoria prepared for the board presentation represented the culmination of 6 years of accumulated observations, combined with intensive research into industry trends, regulatory developments, and competitive positioning strategies that could revolutionize Sterling's market approach. Her preparation process required systematic documentation of organizational problems, alongside specific recommendations that demonstrated both analytical rigor and practical implementation feasibility. Victoria's research methodology incorporated multiple information sources that provided comprehensive perspective on Sterling's competitive environment and strategic challenges. She analyzed quarterly reports from 23 competing firms, conducted informal interviews with former Sterling employees who had joined other organizations, and reviewed industry publications that highlighted emerging trends in wealth management services and client relationship strategies. The technological assessment component of Victoria's analysis revealed that Sterling's infrastructure limitations created significant competitive disadvantages that affected client service quality, operational efficiency, and strategic decision-making capability. Her research demonstrated that contemporary wealth management required sophisticated data analysis tools, automated reporting systems, and digital communication platforms that Sterling had failed to implement despite their proven effectiveness at competitor organizations. Victoria's client demographic analysis incorporated census data, generational wealth transfer projections, and cultural trend research that revealed fundamental shifts in investor expectations and service preferences that Sterling's traditional approach could not accommodate effectively. Her findings suggested that the firm's continued focus on established client relationships while ignoring emerging market segments represented a strategic miscalculation that would limit growth potential over the next decade. The competitive positioning assessment Victoria developed compared Sterling's service offerings, fee structures, and client experience protocols against industry leaders who had achieved superior growth rates and client satisfaction metrics through innovative approaches that balanced traditional relationship management with contemporary technology integration and expanded service capabilities. Victoria's operational efficiency analysis documented specific processes within Sterling's current structure that created unnecessary costs, delayed client service delivery, and limited scalability that prevented the firm from competing effectively for larger institutional accounts or expanding into new geographic markets. Her recommendations included detailed implementation plans for addressing these inefficiencies while maintaining service quality during transition periods. The talent management component of Victoria's strategic analysis examined Sterling's recruitment, development, and retention practices against industry benchmarks that revealed systematic problems in identifying, nurturing, and advancing capable professionals. Her research demonstrated that the firm's emphasis on traditional credentials and cultural fit over performance excellence and innovative thinking had created leadership gaps that limited strategic adaptability and competitive responsiveness. Victoria's financial performance analysis incorporated 5 years of comparative data that revealed Sterling's declining market share, reduced profitability per client relationship, and missed opportunities for revenue growth that resulted from strategic conservatism and resistance to innovation. Her projections demonstrated that continuing current practices would lead to further competitive erosion, while implementing recommended changes could restore growth momentum and market leadership. The regulatory compliance assessment Victoria prepared highlighted emerging requirements and industry standards that would affect wealth management practices over the next 5 years, providing Sterling with advanced preparation opportunities that could create competitive advantages while avoiding costly reactive adjustments that many competitors would face when new regulations became mandatory. Victoria's client retention analysis examined factors that influenced investor loyalty and satisfaction across different demographic segments, revealing that Sterling's traditional approach effectively served established clients while failing to meet evolving expectations from younger investors, women decision-makers, and culturally diverse families who represented the fastest-growing segments of the wealth management market. The business development strategy Victoria proposed incorporated lessons learned from successful firms that had achieved rapid growth through targeted market expansion, strategic partnership development, and service innovation that differentiated their value propositions while maintaining profitability and operational quality. Her recommendations provided specific implementation roadmaps with timeline projections and resource requirements. Victoria's technology integration plan addressed Sterling's digital transformation needs through phased implementation of client relationship management systems, automated portfolio analysis tools, and communication platforms that would improve service delivery while reducing operational costs and enabling scalability that could support business expansion without proportional staff increases. The organizational restructuring recommendations Victoria developed focused on creating advancement pathways based on performance excellence rather than traditional credentials, while establishing accountability systems that aligned individual success with firm-wide strategic objectives. Her proposals addressed succession planning challenges while improving talent retention and development effectiveness. Victoria's marketing and brand positioning analysis revealed opportunities for Sterling to differentiate its services through thought leadership, community engagement, and educational content that would attract new clients while reinforcing relationships with existing accounts. Her recommendations included specific strategies for establishing industry recognition and market visibility that could support business development efforts. The risk management framework Victoria proposed incorporated lessons learned from market volatility events and industry disruptions that had affected wealth management firms over the past decade, providing Sterling with enhanced protection against various threat scenarios, while maintaining growth-oriented investment strategies that could deliver superior client outcomes. Victoria's presentation preparation required development of supporting materials that would enable board members to understand complex strategic concepts while providing sufficient detail for informed decision-making about implementation priorities and resource allocation. Her approach balanced comprehensive analysis with accessible communication that would facilitate productive discussion and collaborative planning. The visual presentation components Victoria created included charts, graphs, and infographic elements that illustrated key findings and recommendations in formats that would facilitate understanding and retention among board members with diverse professional backgrounds and varying levels of familiarity with contemporary wealth management practices and competitive dynamics. Victoria's preparation process included rehearsal sessions where she practiced presenting complex information concisely while anticipating potential questions and developing responses that would demonstrate her expertise and strategic thinking capability. Her presentation strategy focused on establishing credibility while building consensus around recommended changes that could improve Sterling's competitive positioning. The documentation Victoria prepared for board distribution included executive summaries, detailed analysis reports, and implementation timelines that would enable continued reference and planning discussions beyond the initial presentation meeting. Her materials were designed to support ongoing strategic planning while providing accountability frameworks for measuring progress and adjusting approaches based on implementation experience. Victoria's research into board member backgrounds and interests enabled her to customize presentation elements that would resonate with individual decision-makers while addressing their specific concerns about Sterling's future direction and competitive challenges. Her approach recognized that effective strategic communication required understanding audience perspectives and motivations that influenced receptivity to change recommendations. The strategic implementation roadmap Victoria developed provided Sterling with specific steps for executing recommended changes while managing transition risks and maintaining operational stability during transformation periods. Her timeline incorporated realistic resource requirements and milestone achievements that would enable progress monitoring and course correction as needed throughout implementation phases. Victoria's preparation process reinforced her conviction that Sterling possessed significant untapped potential that could be realized through strategic leadership and organizational development that aligned firm capabilities with market opportunities. Her analysis demonstrated that the company's fundamental strengths could support sustainable growth and enhanced competitiveness through focused improvement efforts and cultural evolution that embraced performance excellence over traditional conformity. The Sterling Financial Group boardroom had never witnessed a presentation quite like the one Victoria Chen delivered on the morning of March 15th. Patricia Wellington had arranged for Victoria to address a special strategic planning session that included 5 board members and 2 senior partners, creating an unprecedented opportunity for someone of Victoria's organizational level to influence high-level decision-making and demonstrate strategic capabilities that had remained invisible within traditional reporting structures. Victoria entered the mahogany-paneled boardroom carrying a presentation portfolio that represented 3 weeks of intensive research and analysis, along with 6 years of accumulated observations about Sterling's operational challenges and competitive disadvantages. Her professional appearance reflected careful attention to executive presence, while her demeanor conveyed confidence grounded in thorough preparation rather than nervous ambition seeking recognition through political maneuvering. The presentation began with Victoria's comprehensive assessment of Sterling's current market position relative to industry leaders who had achieved superior growth rates and client satisfaction metrics through strategic adaptations that Sterling had failed to implement despite their proven effectiveness. Her analysis demonstrated that the firm's continued reliance on traditional practices while competitors embraced innovation had created competitive disadvantages that threatened long-term viability and market relevance. Victoria's financial performance analysis revealed that Sterling's declining market share and reduced profitability per client relationship resulted from systematic problems in service delivery, technology integration, and talent management that prevented the firm from competing effectively for emerging client demographics and expanding market segments. Her data presentation included specific metrics that quantified missed opportunities and projected future performance under various strategic scenarios. The board members' initial responses reflected a mixture of surprise and skepticism, as Victoria presented findings that challenged fundamental assumptions about Sterling's competitive position and strategic direction. Several members questioned her methodology and data sources, while others expressed concern about the implications of her analysis for existing leadership and organizational practices that had guided the firm's operations for decades. Robert Harrison, Sterling's founding partner and board chairman, interrupted Victoria's presentation during her discussion of technology infrastructure limitations to express doubt about the necessity of expensive system upgrades that might disrupt established client relationships and operational procedures. His resistance reflected generational differences regarding technology adoption and change management that characterized many traditional wealth management firms struggling to adapt to contemporary market requirements. Victoria responded to Chairman Harrison's concerns by presenting case studies from comparable firms that had successfully implemented technology upgrades without compromising client relationships, while achieving significant improvements in service delivery efficiency and competitive positioning. Her examples included specific implementation strategies and outcome measurements that demonstrated the viability of strategic modernization efforts when properly planned and executed. Patricia Wellington supported Victoria's recommendations by sharing observations from her previous experience as Chief Investment Officer at a major pension fund that had undergone similar technological transformation with positive results for both operational efficiency and client satisfaction. Her endorsement provided credibility that helped other board members consider Victoria's proposals more seriously while reducing resistance based solely on unfamiliarity with contemporary industry practices. The presentation's second section addressed Sterling's talent management challenges and organizational development needs that limited the firm's ability to attract, retain, and advance capable professionals who could drive innovation and business growth. Victoria's analysis revealed that the firm's emphasis on traditional credentials over performance excellence had created leadership gaps, while discouraging talented individuals who possessed alternative qualifications and perspectives. Board member Thomas Mitchell, who served as head of the Compensation Committee, challenged Victoria's assertions about talent management problems by pointing to Sterling's low turnover rates and stable workforce as evidence of employee satisfaction and effective management practices. His response reflected common misconceptions about retention metrics that failed to distinguish between satisfaction and lack of alternative opportunities among high-performing employees. Victoria addressed Mitchell's concerns by presenting data about voluntary departures among top-performing professionals who had left Sterling to join competitors, offering better advancement opportunities and recognition for exceptional contributions. Her analysis demonstrated that the firm's retention of mediocre performers, while losing exceptional talent, represented a strategic liability that undermined competitive capability and growth potential. The most challenging moment in Victoria's presentation occurred when she discussed Sterling's client demographic analysis and the firm's failure to adapt service offerings to meet evolving investor expectations and preferences. Her findings suggested that the firm's traditional approach effectively served established elderly clients, while failing to attract younger investors and culturally diverse families who represented the fastest-growing wealth management market segments. Senior partner Charles Whitman responded defensively to Victoria's demographic analysis by asserting that Sterling's established client relationships and conservative investment approach provided stability and reliability that distinguished the firm from competitors who pursued growth through risky expansion into unfamiliar market segments. His reaction revealed resistance to change that characterized much of Sterling's senior leadership and organizational culture. Victoria maintained professional composure while presenting additional data that demonstrated how demographic shifts and generational wealth transfers would affect Sterling's client base over the next decade. Her projections showed that continuing current practices would result in gradual client base erosion as established relationships ended through natural attrition without adequate replacement from younger investor demographics. The presentation's third section focused on competitive positioning and strategic opportunities that could restore Sterling's market leadership through targeted improvements in service delivery, technology integration, and business development approaches. Victoria's recommendations provided specific implementation plans with timeline projections and resource requirements that demonstrated practical feasibility rather than theoretical idealism. Board member Margaret Foster, who possessed extensive experience in organizational change management from her background in corporate consulting, expressed genuine interest in Victoria's strategic framework and implementation methodology. Her questions revealed sophisticated understanding of change management challenges while demonstrating appreciation for Victoria's systematic approach to problem identification and solution development. Victoria's responses to Foster's inquiries showcased her knowledge of change management best practices and risk mitigation strategies that could facilitate successful implementation while minimizing disruption to existing operations and client relationships. Her detailed explanations demonstrated strategic thinking capability that exceeded typical mid-level employee perspectives, while proving her readiness for advanced responsibilities. The presentation's conclusion included Victoria's comprehensive recommendations for organizational restructuring that would create advancement pathways based on performance excellence, while establishing accountability systems that aligned individual success with firm-wide strategic objectives. Her proposals addressed succession planning challenges while providing framework for identifying and developing talent regardless of traditional credentials or networking advantages. Chairman Harrison's response to Victoria's organizational recommendations revealed the depth of resistance she would face in implementing meaningful change within Sterling's traditional structure. His comments suggested that fundamental alterations to advancement practices would undermine organizational stability and cultural continuity that had contributed to the firm's historical success and reputation within the financial services industry. Victoria concluded her presentation by acknowledging the challenges inherent in organizational transformation, while emphasizing the competitive necessity of adapting to evolving market conditions and client expectations. Her closing remarks balanced respect for Sterling's traditional strengths, with recognition that strategic evolution was essential for long-term viability and continued success in increasingly competitive wealth management markets. The immediate aftermath of Victoria's presentation revealed divided opinions among board members regarding the urgency of implementing her recommendations and the potential risks associated with significant organizational change. Patricia Wellington and Margaret Foster expressed strong support for further analysis and pilot program development, while Chairman Harrison and Senior Partner Whitman advocated for more gradual approaches that would preserve existing practices. The discussion following Victoria's presentation provided opportunity for her to address specific concerns and elaborate on implementation strategies that could accommodate various perspectives while achieving necessary improvements in competitive positioning and organizational effectiveness. Her responses demonstrated diplomatic skill and strategic flexibility that impressed several board members while building support for continued engagement in strategic planning processes. Victoria's presentation had achieved its primary objective of demonstrating her analytical capabilities and strategic thinking, while establishing credibility as someone who understood Sterling's challenges and possessed practical solutions for addressing competitive disadvantages. The mixed reception reflected realistic organizational dynamics, while creating foundation for continued relationship building and influence development that could support future advancement opportunities. The week following Victoria's board presentation marked the beginning of a subtle transformation in her professional relationships and organizational influence within Sterling Financial Group. Patricia Wellington and Margaret Foster had been sufficiently impressed by Victoria's strategic analysis to initiate informal conversations with other industry leaders about contemporary wealth management practices and the necessity of organizational adaptation to remain competitive in evolving markets. Patricia Wellington's subsequent invitation for Victoria to attend the Regional Financial Advisors Summit as Sterling's representative created an unprecedented opportunity for professional visibility and industry networking that typically remained reserved for senior management and established relationship managers. This assignment represented tacit endorsement of Victoria's expertise while providing platform for building external relationships that could support her career advancement and Sterling's business development objectives. The summit attendance required Victoria to prepare comprehensive materials that would represent Sterling's capabilities and strategic vision to potential clients and industry peers who possessed significant influence within regional financial services markets. Her preparation process involved developing presentation materials that showcased the firm's traditional strengths, while incorporating elements of her strategic recommendations that could differentiate Sterling's approach from conventional competitor offerings. Victoria's summit participation exceeded expectations as she engaged effectively with industry leaders, who recognized her sophisticated understanding of wealth management trends and regulatory developments that would influence service delivery requirements over the next decade. Her ability to discuss complex strategic concepts while maintaining practical focus on client outcomes impressed attendees, who subsequently contacted Sterling to explore potential partnership opportunities and service engagements. The professional relationships Victoria established during the summit included connections with technology vendors who specialized in wealth management system integration, consulting firms that facilitated organizational transformation for financial services companies, and regulatory compliance specialists who could support Sterling's adaptation to emerging industry requirements. These relationships provided resources that could accelerate implementation of her strategic recommendations while reducing costs and implementation risks. Margaret Foster leveraged her corporate consulting background to arrange meetings between Victoria and organizational development specialists who possessed experience guiding traditional financial services firms through strategic modernization processes. These consultations provided Victoria with additional perspectives on change management approaches, while validating her assessment of Sterling's transformation requirements and implementation feasibility. The momentum Victoria gained through successful summit participation and industry relationship building created internal recognition that extended beyond her original board presentation supporters to include colleagues who had previously dismissed her potential contributions due to organizational hierarchy assumptions. Several senior professionals began soliciting her opinions on client strategy questions and market analysis challenges that demonstrated growing respect for her expertise and judgment. Victoria's expanded influence within Sterling manifested through increased participation in departmental planning meetings, where her insights about client demographic trends and competitive positioning strategies informed discussion and decision-making processes. Marcus Blackwood found himself unable to exclude Victoria from strategic conversations without appearing obviously obstructive to other meeting participants who valued her contributions and analytical perspectives. The client relationship opportunities that emerged from Victoria's enhanced visibility included direct communication with several high-value accounts who had specifically requested her involvement in portfolio strategy discussions and investment planning consultations. These clients had observed her expertise during previous interactions and preferred working with her rather than through traditional relationship manager intermediaries who lacked her technical knowledge and strategic sophistication. Victoria's growing client recognition created natural advancement pressure within Sterling's organizational structure, as valuable accounts began expressing preferences for working directly with her rather than through established hierarchical channels. This client-driven demand for her services provided powerful leverage for negotiating expanded responsibilities and appropriate recognition that aligned with her actual contributions to business development and retention. The industry recognition Victoria received through summit participation and subsequent professional networking activities attracted attention from executive search firms specializing in wealth management placements. These recruiters recognized her exceptional qualifications and proven track record, while offering alternative career opportunities that could provide immediate advancement and appropriate compensation for her capabilities and achievements. Patricia Wellington's advocacy for Victoria extended to introducing her to other board members through informal social interactions, where Victoria could demonstrate her professional competence and strategic thinking in relaxed settings that facilitated relationship building beyond formal business presentations. These introductions created multiple sources of support for Victoria's advancement, while building consensus around the value of her continued engagement in strategic planning processes. The strategic pilot programs that Margaret Foster proposed based on Victoria's recommendations provided opportunities for demonstrating implementation effectiveness while building credibility for larger-scale organizational changes. These pilot initiatives focused on technology integration projects and client service delivery improvements that could prove concept viability while minimizing risks associated with comprehensive transformation efforts. Victoria's leadership of pilot program development showcased her project management capabilities and strategic execution skills while providing measurable results that validated her analytical recommendations and implementation planning. The successful outcomes from these initial projects created foundation for expanding her responsibilities and authority within Sterling's organizational structure, while proving her readiness for advanced leadership roles. The professional development opportunities that accompanied Victoria's expanded influence included participation in executive education programs and industry certification courses that enhanced her qualifications, while providing additional networking opportunities with senior professionals from other leading wealth management firms. These educational investments demonstrated Sterling's commitment to developing her capabilities while preparing her for increased responsibilities. Victoria's mentoring relationships with junior staff members created additional sources of organizational support while building her reputation as effective leader and developer of talent. Her coaching and guidance helped several colleagues improve their performance and advance their careers while creating loyalty and advocacy that strengthened her position within Sterling's informal influence networks. The strategic advisory role that gradually evolved from Victoria's board presentation and subsequent project leadership provided her with direct access to senior decision-makers while circumventing traditional reporting relationships that had previously limited her advancement opportunities. This advisory capacity enabled her to influence strategic decisions while building credibility and trust among executive leadership team members. Victoria's expanded external visibility through industry conference presentations and professional publication contributions established her reputation as thought leader and subject matter expert within regional wealth management communities. This recognition attracted attention from potential clients and strategic partners, while enhancing Sterling's brand visibility and competitive positioning within target market segments. The business development results that accompanied Victoria's increased client interaction and industry networking activities provided quantifiable evidence of her value contribution, while generating revenue growth that supported Sterling's financial performance and competitive capability. Her success in attracting new clients and expanding existing relationships demonstrated tangible return on investment from her strategic initiatives and professional development. Victoria's growing influence within Sterling created natural pressure for formal recognition and advancement that reflected her actual contributions and capabilities rather than traditional organizational hierarchy assumptions. The gap between her organizational position and actual authority became increasingly obvious to clients, colleagues, and board members, who recognized her leadership and strategic value. The succession planning discussions that emerged from Victoria's successful performance and client recognition positioned her as potential candidate for senior leadership roles that could utilize her expertise while providing career advancement opportunities that matched her qualifications and demonstrated capabilities. These conversations represented significant progress toward achieving professional goals that had seemed impossible within Sterling's traditional advancement patterns. Victoria's strategic patience and professional excellence had transformed her organizational position from undervalued support staff to influential strategic advisor, whose opinions and recommendations shaped business decisions and competitive strategies. Her systematic approach to building relationships, demonstrating value, and achieving measurable results had created momentum that could support continued advancement and expanded leadership responsibilities within Sterling's evolving organizational structure. The defining challenge of Victoria Chen's career transformation arrived in the form of the Harrison Family Trust crisis, a complex situation that would test every aspect of her professional capabilities while determining whether her organizational advancement represented genuine strategic value or temporary political accommodation. The Harrison Family Trust managed assets worth approximately $300 million and had maintained exclusive relationships with Sterling Financial Group for over 4 decades, making them one of the firm's most prestigious and valuable client relationships. The crisis emerged when Eleanor Harrison, the trust's primary beneficiary and decision-maker, discovered significant discrepancies between the investment performance promised by Marcus Blackwood and the actual portfolio results delivered over the preceding 18 months. The family's quarterly review meeting had revealed that their portfolio had underperformed agreed-upon benchmarks by substantial margins, while generating excessive management fees that appeared inconsistent with the value of services provided. Eleanor Harrison's background as former chief financial officer of a Fortune 500 manufacturing company provided her with sophisticated financial analysis capabilities that enabled her to identify performance problems and fee structure irregularities that less experienced investors might have overlooked. Her detailed examination of account statements and investment documentation revealed patterns of poor decision-making and potential fiduciary breaches that threatened Sterling's reputation and legal standing within the wealth management industry. The Harrison family trust crisis represented far more than a single client relationship problem, because the family's prominent position within regional business and social communities meant that negative publicity could influence other high-value clients, while damaging Sterling's competitive positioning and business development prospects. The potential loss of this relationship could cascade into broader client defections that would threaten the firm's financial stability and market credibility. Patricia Wellington approached Victoria with urgent requests to lead the crisis management and relationship recovery effort, because her strategic analysis capabilities and client relationship expertise provided the best opportunity for understanding the problems and developing effective solutions. This assignment represented unprecedented responsibility and visibility that could establish Victoria's reputation as capable leader, while providing platform for demonstrating advanced strategic and interpersonal skills. Victoria's initial assessment of the Harrison family trust situation revealed that Marcus Blackwood's management approach had prioritized short-term fee generation over long-term portfolio performance through excessive trading activities and inappropriate investment selections that failed to align with the family's stated risk tolerance and return objectives. The documentation review confirmed that fundamental fiduciary responsibilities had been compromised in favor of revenue maximization strategies. The complexity of the Harrison crisis extended beyond investment performance issues to encompass communication problems and relationship management failures that had eroded trust between the family and Sterling's leadership team. Eleanor Harrison's complaints included lack of proactive communication about market conditions, inadequate explanation of investment strategy changes, and dismissive responses to questions about portfolio performance and fee justifications. Victoria's crisis management strategy required comprehensive analysis of the Harrison family trust's investment objectives, risk tolerance, and performance expectations, alongside detailed examination of Marcus Blackwood's management decisions and their impact on portfolio outcomes. Her approach emphasized transparency and accountability while developing corrective measures that could restore trust and demonstrate Sterling's commitment to fiduciary excellence. The first phase of Victoria's crisis response involved conducting intensive interviews with Eleanor Harrison and other family members to understand their investment priorities, communication preferences, and relationship expectations that should guide portfolio management and client service delivery. These conversations revealed that previous interactions with Sterling's management had failed to acknowledge their sophisticated financial knowledge and strategic thinking capabilities. Victoria's analysis of the Harrison portfolio's investment holdings revealed numerous decisions that appeared to serve Sterling's revenue interests rather than the family's investment objectives, including excessive allocation to high-fee proprietary products and frequent trading activities that generated commissions without corresponding portfolio benefits. Her documentation of these practices provided foundation for developing corrective strategies and preventing similar problems with other client relationships. The regulatory compliance review that Victoria conducted as part of the crisis management process identified potential violations of fiduciary duty standards that could expose Sterling to legal liability and regulatory sanctions if not addressed promptly and comprehensively. Her findings required immediate notification to senior management and legal counsel while implementing protective measures that could minimize institutional risks. Victoria's relationship recovery strategy emphasized rebuilding trust through demonstrated competence and transparent communication, rather than attempting to minimize problems or deflect responsibility for management failures. Her approach required acknowledgement of past mistakes while providing specific corrective measures and performance guarantees that could restore confidence in Sterling's professional capabilities and ethical standards. The implementation of Victoria's crisis management plan required coordination across multiple departments, including legal compliance, risk management, and senior leadership, to ensure comprehensive response that addressed all aspects of the Harrison family trust concerns, while establishing protocols that could prevent similar problems with other client relationships. This coordination effort tested Victoria's project management and leadership capabilities under intense pressure and scrutiny. Eleanor Harrison's response to Victoria's initial crisis management efforts revealed cautious optimism about the possibility of restoring the relationship while maintaining firm expectations about performance improvements and accountability measures that would be required for continued engagement with Sterling Financial Group. Her feedback provided guidance for refining the recovery strategy while establishing clear benchmarks for success measurement. The portfolio restructuring plan that Victoria developed for the Harrison Family Trust required comprehensive reallocation of investment holdings to align with the family's actual risk tolerance and return objectives, while eliminating inappropriate positions and excessive fee structures that had contributed to performance problems. This restructuring process demanded sophisticated knowledge of investment products and market conditions, alongside careful attention to tax implications and transition costs. Victoria's communication strategy throughout the crisis management process included regular progress updates to Eleanor Harrison and structured reporting to Sterling's board of directors that demonstrated transparency and accountability while building confidence in the recovery effort's effectiveness. Her communication approach balanced professional competence with personal empathy for the family's concerns and frustrations about previous service failures. The legal and compliance aspects of the Harrison crisis required Victoria to work closely with external counsel and regulatory specialists to ensure that all corrective measures met industry standards, while protecting Sterling from potential liability claims or regulatory sanctions that could result from past management failures. This collaboration tested her ability to navigate complex legal and regulatory environments while maintaining focus on client relationship recovery. Victoria's crisis management approach included development of enhanced client service protocols that could prevent similar problems with other high-value relationships, while improving Sterling's overall competitive positioning through superior client experience and communication standards. These protocols represented systematic improvements that extended beyond the immediate crisis to encompass broader organizational development objectives. The performance measurement framework that Victoria established for monitoring progress on the Harrison relationship recovery included specific metrics for portfolio performance, client satisfaction, and communication effectiveness that provided objective standards for evaluating success, while identifying areas requiring continued attention and improvement. This framework demonstrated her commitment to accountability and continuous improvement. The timeline pressures associated with the Harrison crisis required Victoria to coordinate multiple work streams simultaneously, while maintaining quality standards and attention to detail that would be essential for successful resolution. These time management and prioritization challenges tested her ability to perform effectively under pressure, while leading cross-functional teams toward common objectives. Victoria's leadership during the Harrison crisis revealed capabilities that had remained largely invisible within Sterling's traditional organizational structure, including strategic problem-solving, stakeholder management, and crisis communication skills that proved essential for managing complex client relationships and institutional challenges. Her performance during this critical period validated her readiness for advanced leadership responsibilities. The broader implications of the Harrison crisis extended beyond the immediate client relationship to encompass fundamental questions about Sterling's management practices, quality control systems, and accountability standards that would influence the firm's future competitive positioning and reputation within the wealth management industry. Victoria's role in addressing these broader issues positioned her as key contributor to Sterling's strategic evolution and organizational development. Victoria Chen's systematic approach to resolving the Harrison Family Trust crisis demonstrated strategic capabilities that transformed a potentially catastrophic client relationship failure into a comprehensive demonstration of exceptional professional competence and organizational leadership. Her methodology incorporated detailed forensic analysis of past investment decisions, alongside innovative solutions that addressed immediate concerns while establishing sustainable frameworks for long-term relationship excellence and institutional improvement. The forensic examination Victoria conducted revealed that Marcus Blackwood's portfolio management decisions had systematically prioritized Sterling's revenue interests over the Harrison Family Trust's investment objectives through excessive trading activities, inappropriate product selection, and fee structures that violated established fiduciary standards. Her documentation process created comprehensive evidence trail that supported corrective actions while protecting Sterling from potential regulatory sanctions and legal liability claims. Victoria's corrective strategy required immediate implementation of portfolio restructuring measures that would realign investment holdings with the Harrison Family Trust's actual risk tolerance and return objectives, while eliminating positions that served Sterling's interests rather than client welfare. This restructuring process demanded sophisticated understanding of tax implications, market timing considerations, and transition costs that could affect overall portfolio performance during the correction period. The relationship recovery component of Victoria's crisis management approach emphasized transparent communication and collaborative decision-making that acknowledged past failures while demonstrating Sterling's commitment to fiduciary excellence and client-focused service delivery. Her strategy included structured meetings with Eleanor Harrison that provided regular progress updates while soliciting feedback about service improvements and relationship expectations. Victoria's implementation of enhanced communication protocols addressed one of Eleanor Harrison's primary concerns about inadequate information sharing and dismissive responses to legitimate questions about portfolio performance and management strategies. The new protocols established regular reporting schedules, proactive market commentary, and accessible explanations of investment decisions that respected the family's sophisticated financial knowledge and strategic thinking capabilities. The portfolio performance recovery that Victoria achieved through strategic restructuring and improved management practices exceeded expectations by generating returns that outperformed agreed-upon benchmarks while reducing fee burdens and eliminating inappropriate investment positions that had contributed to previous underperformance. Her results provided concrete evidence of improved service quality while rebuilding trust and confidence in Sterling's professional capabilities. Victoria's collaboration with legal counsel and regulatory compliance specialists ensured that all corrective measures met industry standards while implementing protective protocols that could prevent similar problems with other client relationships. This comprehensive approach addressed immediate crisis concerns while establishing systematic improvements that enhanced Sterling's overall risk management and quality control capabilities. The client education initiative that Victoria developed as part of the relationship recovery process provided Eleanor Harrison and other family members with enhanced understanding of investment strategies, market conditions, and portfolio management principles that enabled more informed participation in decision-making processes. This educational approach demonstrated respect for client intelligence while building stronger partnership foundations. Victoria's coordination of cross-functional teams throughout the crisis resolution process showcased leadership capabilities that had remained largely invisible within Sterling's traditional organizational structure. Her ability to manage legal specialists, compliance officers, senior management, and external consultants toward common objectives demonstrated project management skills and strategic thinking that validated her readiness for advanced executive responsibilities. The timeline achievements that Victoria delivered throughout the crisis management process exceeded Eleanor Harrison's expectations, while demonstrating operational efficiency and attention to detail that distinguished her performance from previous service delivery standards. Her ability to coordinate complex activities while maintaining quality control under pressure created confidence about Sterling's renewed commitment to excellence. Victoria's development of sustainable client service protocols that emerged from the Harrison crisis provided Sterling with enhanced capabilities for managing other high-value relationships, while preventing similar problems through proactive monitoring and quality assurance measures. These protocols represented institutional improvements that extended beyond immediate crisis resolution to encompass broader organizational development and competitive positioning objectives. The risk management framework that Victoria implemented during the crisis response included enhanced due diligence procedures, performance monitoring systems, and accountability measures that addressed fundamental weaknesses in Sterling's previous management practices. Her framework provided systematic protection against fiduciary breaches while ensuring consistent service quality across all client relationships. Victoria's success in rebuilding Eleanor Harrison's confidence in Sterling's professional capabilities culminated in the family's decision to maintain their relationship while expanding their investment portfolio through additional asset transfers that demonstrated renewed trust and satisfaction with service quality improvements. This outcome validated Victoria's crisis management approach while generating measurable business benefits for Sterling. The broader institutional impact of Victoria's crisis resolution success extended throughout Sterling's organizational culture, as other departments and client relationship managers adopted her protocols and methodologies for improving service delivery and risk management. Her influence on institutional practices demonstrated leadership effectiveness that transcended individual achievement to encompass organizational development and competitive enhancement. Victoria's reputation within Sterling's client community expanded significantly following her successful resolution of the Harrison crisis, as other families requested her involvement in portfolio reviews and strategic planning discussions. This client-driven demand for her services created natural advancement pressure, while providing additional opportunities for demonstrating value and building professional relationships. The industry recognition that Victoria received for her crisis management expertise attracted attention from professional associations and peer organizations that invited her to present case studies and best practices at conferences and educational seminars. This external validation enhanced her professional reputation, while positioning Sterling as thought leader in client relationship management and fiduciary excellence. Victoria's mentoring of junior staff members during the crisis response process created knowledge transfer opportunities that built institutional capabilities while developing future leaders who could maintain service quality standards and implement advanced client management practices. Her coaching and development efforts strengthened Sterling's human capital while ensuring continuity of improved service delivery approaches. The financial performance improvements that resulted from Victoria's crisis management success included enhanced fee structures that aligned compensation with value delivery, while improving client satisfaction and retention rates. Her approach demonstrated that ethical practices and superior service quality could generate sustainable revenue growth without compromising fiduciary responsibilities or client welfare. Victoria's strategic documentation of lessons learned during the Harrison crisis provided Sterling with comprehensive analysis of root causes and corrective measures that could guide future quality improvement initiatives while preventing similar problems through enhanced systems and accountability measures. Her documentation created institutional memory that supported continuous improvement and organizational learning. The regulatory compliance enhancements that emerged from Victoria's crisis management process positioned Sterling favorably with industry oversight bodies, while demonstrating proactive commitment to fiduciary excellence and client protection standards. These improvements reduced regulatory risks while enhancing the firm's reputation for ethical practices and professional competence. Victoria's integration of technology solutions during the crisis response process included automated monitoring systems and reporting capabilities that improved efficiency while ensuring consistent communication and performance tracking across all client relationships. Her technology initiatives demonstrated innovation and forward thinking that enhanced Sterling's competitive capabilities and operational effectiveness. The succession planning implications of Victoria's crisis management success became apparent as board members and senior leadership recognized her potential for assuming greater responsibilities within Sterling's organizational structure. Her demonstrated capabilities during challenging circumstances provided evidence of leadership readiness that supported advancement discussions and strategic planning conversations about the firm's future direction and management development needs. The Sterling Financial Group board meeting on April 22 marked a watershed moment in Victoria Chen's professional trajectory as the board formally acknowledged her exceptional crisis management performance and strategic contributions that had preserved one of the firm's most valuable client relationships, while implementing systematic improvements that enhanced organizational capabilities and competitive positioning. The unanimous board resolution recognizing Victoria's achievements represented unprecedented acknowledgement for someone of her organizational level while establishing foundation for advancement discussions that would fundamentally alter her career prospects. Patricia Wellington opened the recognition proceedings by presenting comprehensive analysis of the Harrison Family Trust crisis resolution that documented Victoria's systematic approach to problem identification, stakeholder management, and solution implementation that had exceeded all performance expectations while establishing new standards for client relationship management and fiduciary excellence. Her presentation emphasized the strategic value of Victoria's contributions alongside the measurable business benefits that resulted from her leadership during challenging circumstances. Chairman Robert Harrison, despite his previous resistance to organizational change initiatives, acknowledged that Victoria's crisis management performance had demonstrated capabilities that warranted serious consideration for advanced leadership responsibilities within Sterling's evolving strategic framework. His recognition carried particular significance because the Harrison Family Trust bore his family name and represented personal as well as professional interests that Victoria's expertise had successfully protected and enhanced. The board's formal commendation of Victoria's achievements included specific recognition of her ability to transform potential catastrophe into organizational improvement opportunity, while building sustainable frameworks for enhanced client service delivery and risk management. The commendation emphasized her strategic thinking, communication excellence, and leadership effectiveness under pressure that distinguished her performance from conventional crisis management approaches and validated her readiness for expanded responsibilities. Margaret Foster's presentation of quantifiable results from Victoria's crisis management efforts provided concrete evidence of value creation that included restored client confidence, enhanced portfolio performance, improved fee structures, and systematic process improvements that would benefit Sterling's entire client portfolio. Her analysis demonstrated that Victoria's contributions generated measurable return on investment, while establishing competitive advantages that could support long-term business growth and market positioning. The industry recognition that accompanied Victoria's internal acknowledgement included invitations to present her crisis management methodology at the National Wealth Management Association annual conference, and requests for case study contributions to professional publications that would establish her reputation as thought leader and subject matter expert. This external validation provided additional credibility while enhancing Sterling's brand visibility and competitive positioning within regional financial services markets. Victoria's promotion to Director of Client Strategy and Risk Management represented formal recognition of her demonstrated capabilities while providing authority and resources necessary for implementing comprehensive improvements to Sterling's client relationship management and quality assurance systems. The newly created position acknowledged her unique combination of analytical expertise, strategic thinking, and relationship management skills that had proven essential for managing complex client challenges and organizational development initiatives. The compensation adjustment that accompanied Victoria's promotion reflected market rates for her demonstrated capabilities and strategic value, while addressing years of systematic undervaluation that had characterized her previous organizational treatment. The salary increase and equity participation package provided financial recognition that aligned with her contributions, while creating incentives for continued excellence and long-term commitment to Sterling's strategic evolution. Victoria's expanded authority included oversight responsibility for all high-value client relationships that required sophisticated risk management and strategic planning, while providing her with direct access to senior leadership and board-level strategic planning processes. This authority represented unprecedented influence for someone who had been excluded from strategic discussions, despite possessing superior analytical capabilities and client relationship expertise. The client relationship recognition that Victoria received following her formal promotion included specific requests from multiple high-value families for her direct involvement in portfolio strategy development and comprehensive wealth management planning. These client preferences validated her professional competence while creating natural business development opportunities that could enhance Sterling's competitive positioning and revenue generation. Victoria's advisory role in Sterling's strategic planning process provided her with platform for implementing broader organizational improvements that extended beyond individual client relationships to encompass comprehensive competitive positioning and operational excellence initiatives. Her influence on institutional strategy demonstrated the value of recognizing exceptional talent regardless of traditional advancement pathways or conventional credentials. The mentoring responsibilities that accompanied Victoria's new leadership position included development of junior professionals and implementation of enhanced training programs that would build institutional capabilities while ensuring consistency of service delivery across all client relationships. Her coaching and development efforts created systematic improvements that multiplied her individual impact while building sustainable competitive advantages. Victoria's participation in Sterling's executive leadership team represented complete transformation, from invisible support staff to strategic decision-maker whose opinions and recommendations influenced fundamental business policies and competitive strategies. This integration into senior leadership validated her professional competence while providing opportunities for continued growth and institutional influence. The professional development opportunities that emerged from Victoria's recognition included executive education programs, industry certification courses, and strategic consulting engagements that enhanced her qualifications while expanding her professional network and industry influence. These investments in her continued development demonstrated Sterling's commitment to supporting her advancement while leveraging her growing reputation for organizational benefit. Victoria's thought leadership activities included publication of articles in professional journals and presentation of research findings at industry conferences that established her reputation as expert in client relationship management and risk mitigation strategies. Her intellectual contributions enhanced Sterling's brand positioning while creating additional business development opportunities through increased market visibility and professional recognition. The succession planning discussions that included Victoria as potential candidate for senior executive positions represented complete transformation of her career trajectory within Sterling's organizational structure. Her demonstrated capabilities during crisis management and strategic planning activities had positioned her as a viable candidate for continued advancement that could utilize her expertise while supporting Sterling's competitive evolution. Victoria's influence on Sterling's organizational culture extended throughout the firm as her client-focused approach and analytical rigor became models for enhanced service delivery and professional excellence. Her impact on institutional practices demonstrated leadership effectiveness that transcended individual achievement to encompass comprehensive organizational development and competitive enhancement. The client retention and acquisition results that accompanied Victoria's enhanced role provided measurable evidence of her strategic value, while generating revenue growth that supported Sterling's financial performance and market positioning. Her success in building client relationships and implementing superior service delivery standards created sustainable competitive advantages that validated investment in her professional development. Victoria's integration of technological solutions and process improvements throughout Sterling's client management systems demonstrated innovation and forward thinking that enhanced operational efficiency while improving client satisfaction and service quality. Her technology initiatives positioned Sterling favorably relative to competitors, while creating scalability that could support business expansion without proportional cost increases. The regulatory compliance enhancements that Victoria implemented as part of her risk management responsibilities positioned Sterling as industry leader in fiduciary excellence, while reducing legal and regulatory risks that could threaten business operations. Her compliance initiatives demonstrated proactive risk management that protected institutional interests while enhancing market reputation and competitive credibility. Victoria's strategic vision for Sterling's future development included expansion opportunities, service innovation possibilities, and competitive positioning strategies that could transform the firm from regional player to national recognition. Her strategic recommendations provided a roadmap for sustainable growth while leveraging institutional strengths and addressing competitive challenges that would influence long-term viability and market success. Victoria Chen's transition into the Director of Client Strategy and Risk Management position brought unprecedented challenges that tested her ability to scale her individual excellence into comprehensive organizational leadership, while navigating the complex dynamics of executive responsibility and institutional transformation. Her new role required development of strategic capabilities that extended far beyond technical expertise to encompass organizational vision, cultural leadership, and systematic change management that would influence Sterling Financial Group's competitive positioning and long-term viability. The scope of Victoria's expanded responsibilities included oversight of Sterling's entire high-value client portfolio, encompassing relationships worth over $2 billion in managed assets that required sophisticated risk assessment, strategic planning, and relationship management coordination across multiple departments and service teams. This comprehensive responsibility demanded a systematic approach to quality assurance and performance monitoring that could maintain service excellence while identifying opportunities for enhancement and competitive differentiation. Victoria's first major initiative in her new leadership role focused on implementing comprehensive client relationship audit processes that would identify potential problems before they escalated into crisis situations similar to the Harrison Family Trust challenges. Her audit methodology incorporated quantitative performance analysis alongside qualitative relationship assessment that examined communication effectiveness, service delivery consistency, and alignment between client objectives and portfolio management strategies. The organizational development component of Victoria's expanded role required her to design and implement enhanced training programs for client relationship managers and portfolio coordinators that would establish consistent service delivery standards while building institutional capabilities for managing increasingly sophisticated client requirements and competitive market conditions. Her training initiatives emphasized analytical rigor, communication excellence, and proactive relationship management that distinguished Sterling's approach from conventional wealth management services. Victoria's strategic planning responsibilities included development of comprehensive competitive analysis and market positioning strategies that could guide Sterling's business development efforts while identifying emerging opportunities and potential threats that would influence long-term strategic direction. Her analysis incorporated demographic trends, regulatory developments, technological innovations, and cultural shifts that would affect wealth management practices and client expectations over the next decade. The technology integration initiatives that Victoria spearheaded represented fundamental transformation of Sterling's operational infrastructure to enhance efficiency, improve client communication, and provide sophisticated analytical capabilities that could support superior investment decision-making and risk management. Her technology strategy balanced innovation with reliability while ensuring seamless integration with existing systems and minimal disruption to ongoing client service delivery. Victoria's leadership of Sterling's risk management evolution included development of comprehensive frameworks for identifying, assessing, and mitigating various threat scenarios that could affect client portfolios or institutional stability. Her risk management approach incorporated lessons learned from recent market volatility events while establishing proactive monitoring systems that could provide early warning indicators and protective measures for different risk categories. The client acquisition strategy that Victoria developed leveraged Sterling's enhanced service capabilities and superior relationship management practices to attract high-value prospects who sought sophisticated wealth management services and fiduciary excellence. Her acquisition approach emphasized demonstrable value creation and competitive differentiation, rather than traditional marketing techniques that relied primarily on relationship networking and promotional activities. Victoria's management of Sterling's expanding professional team required sophisticated understanding of talent development, performance optimization, and organizational culture evolution that could support business growth while maintaining service quality standards and institutional values. Her approach to team leadership emphasized collaborative excellence, continuous learning, and individual development that aligned personal advancement with organizational strategic objectives. The regulatory compliance enhancement that Victoria implemented throughout Sterling's operations addressed evolving industry requirements while establishing best practices that exceeded minimum standards, and demonstrated institutional commitment to fiduciary excellence and client protection. Her compliance initiatives provided competitive advantages while reducing regulatory risks and enhancing market reputation for ethical practices and professional competence. Victoria's coordination of Sterling's strategic partnerships with external service providers, technology vendors, and professional consultants required sophisticated vendor management and relationship building that could leverage specialized expertise while maintaining institutional control and service quality standards. Her partnership strategy emphasized value creation and strategic alignment, while ensuring accountability and performance measurement across all collaborative relationships. The business development results that accompanied Victoria's leadership initiatives included substantial growth in new client acquisitions, expanded relationships with existing families, and enhanced revenue generation that validated her strategic approach while providing resources for continued investment in organizational capabilities and competitive positioning. Her success in driving business growth demonstrated the connection between operational excellence and financial performance. Victoria's thought leadership activities within the wealth management industry included presentation of research findings and best practices at professional conferences, while contributing analytical insights to industry publications that enhanced Sterling's reputation and market visibility. Her intellectual contributions positioned Sterling as innovative leader, while building Victoria's personal reputation as strategic expert and industry authority. The succession planning development that Victoria initiated addressed Sterling's long-term leadership requirements by identifying and developing high-potential professionals who could assume increased responsibilities while maintaining institutional knowledge and service excellence standards. Her succession planning approach emphasized merit-based advancement and comprehensive skill development that could support organizational growth and competitive adaptation. Victoria's crisis preparedness initiatives included development of comprehensive response protocols and contingency planning frameworks that could address various emergency scenarios while maintaining client confidence and operational stability during challenging circumstances. Her preparedness strategies incorporated lessons learned from previous crisis experiences, while establishing systematic approaches to problem resolution and stakeholder communication. The international expansion analysis that Victoria conducted examined opportunities for Sterling to extend its service capabilities into global markets, while serving clients with international investment interests and cross-border wealth management requirements. Her international strategy incorporated regulatory considerations, cultural factors, and competitive dynamics that would influence expansion feasibility and strategic positioning. Victoria's innovation leadership included identification and evaluation of emerging technologies, service delivery methodologies, and market opportunities that could enhance Sterling's competitive capabilities while providing superior client outcomes and operational efficiency. Her innovation approach balanced calculated risk-taking with systematic evaluation that could guide strategic investments and competitive differentiation. The performance measurement systems that Victoria implemented throughout Sterling's operations provided comprehensive tracking of client satisfaction, investment performance, operational efficiency, and strategic progress that enabled continuous improvement and accountability across all organizational functions. Her measurement frameworks incorporated both quantitative metrics and qualitative assessments that captured the full scope of institutional effectiveness and competitive positioning. Victoria's cultural leadership within Sterling emphasized values-based decision-making, collaborative excellence, and continuous learning that could support organizational adaptation while maintaining institutional identity and professional standards. Her approach to cultural development recognized that sustainable competitive advantages emerged from organizational capabilities rather than individual achievements or temporary market positioning. The strategic vision that Victoria developed for Sterling's future evolution incorporated comprehensive analysis of industry trends, competitive dynamics, and organizational capabilities that could guide long-term planning, while maintaining flexibility for adaptation to changing market conditions and emerging opportunities. Her vision provided framework for systematic growth, while preserving institutional strengths and competitive advantages that distinguished Sterling within the wealth management industry. Victoria Chen's transformation into Sterling Financial Group's most influential strategic leader represented a fundamental shift in organizational dynamics that extended far beyond her individual advancement to encompass comprehensive institutional evolution and competitive repositioning. Her expanded authority as Director of Client Strategy and Risk Management had evolved into de facto leadership of Sterling's entire strategic direction, with board members and senior partners increasingly relying on her analytical insights and strategic recommendations for critical business decisions that would determine the firm's long-term viability and market positioning. The industry recognition that Victoria had achieved through her crisis management expertise and strategic leadership capabilities attracted attention from national wealth management publications, professional associations, and academic institutions that sought her participation in research initiatives and thought leadership development. Her reputation as innovative strategist and relationship management expert had transcended regional boundaries to establish Sterling as a recognized leader in fiduciary excellence and client-focused service delivery approaches that distinguished the firm within highly competitive financial services markets. Victoria's influence on Sterling's organizational culture had produced measurable improvements in employee engagement, client satisfaction, and operational efficiency that validated her leadership philosophy, emphasizing collaborative excellence and performance-based advancement over traditional hierarchical structures and credential-focused promotion practices. The cultural transformation she had initiated created systematic competitive advantages while establishing frameworks for sustainable growth and adaptation to evolving market conditions and client expectations. The strategic partnerships that Victoria had developed with technology vendors, regulatory consultants, and professional service providers had positioned Sterling at the forefront of industry innovation while providing access to specialized expertise and resources that enhanced competitive capabilities and operational effectiveness. Her partnership strategy emphasized value creation and strategic alignment, while maintaining institutional independence and decision-making authority that preserved Sterling's unique market positioning and client service approach. Victoria's thought leadership activities within the wealth management industry had established her as recognized expert in client relationship management, risk mitigation strategies, and organizational development approaches that created sustainable competitive advantages. Her presentations at national conferences and contributions to professional publications enhanced Sterling's brand visibility, while attracting high-value client prospects who sought sophisticated wealth management services and demonstrated fiduciary excellence. The business development results that accompanied Victoria's strategic leadership included substantial growth in assets under management, expansion of high-value client relationships, and enhanced revenue generation that provided resources for continued investment in organizational capabilities and competitive positioning initiatives. Her success in driving sustainable business growth while maintaining service quality standards demonstrated the effectiveness of her integrated approach to relationship management and strategic planning. Victoria's mentoring and development of Sterling's professional team had created comprehensive succession planning frameworks that identified and nurtured high-potential individuals, while building institutional knowledge and capabilities that could support continued growth and competitive adaptation. Her approach to talent development emphasized merit-based advancement and continuous learning, while creating pathways for advancement that transcended traditional credential requirements and networking advantages. The regulatory compliance leadership that Victoria provided positioned Sterling as industry model for fiduciary excellence and client protection standards that exceeded minimum requirements, while demonstrating proactive commitment to ethical practices and professional competence. Her compliance initiatives created competitive differentiation while reducing regulatory risks and enhancing market reputation for transparency and accountability in client relationship management. Victoria's integration of advanced technology solutions throughout Sterling's operations had transformed the firm's analytical capabilities, communication systems, and operational efficiency, while providing clients with superior service delivery and investment performance monitoring. Her technology strategy balanced innovation with reliability, while ensuring seamless integration and minimal disruption to established client relationships and service protocols. The international expansion strategy that Victoria had developed addressed opportunities for Sterling to serve clients with global investment interests and cross-border wealth management requirements, while establishing strategic positioning for geographic diversification and market growth. Her analysis incorporated regulatory considerations, cultural factors, and competitive dynamics that would influence expansion feasibility and long-term strategic benefits. Victoria's crisis management expertise had become institutional knowledge that enhanced Sterling's preparedness for various emergency scenarios, while maintaining client confidence and operational stability during challenging market conditions. Her crisis response protocols provided systematic frameworks for problem identification, stakeholder communication, and solution implementation that protected client interests while preserving institutional reputation and competitive positioning. The performance measurement systems that Victoria had implemented throughout Sterling's operations provided comprehensive tracking and analysis capabilities that enabled continuous improvement and strategic optimization across all organizational functions. Her measurement frameworks incorporated quantitative metrics and qualitative assessments that captured the full scope of institutional effectiveness while identifying opportunities for enhancement and competitive advantage development. Victoria's strategic vision for Sterling's future evolution had guided comprehensive organizational transformation that positioned the firm for sustained growth and market leadership, while preserving institutional values and competitive differentiators that distinguished Sterling within the wealth management industry. Her vision integrated analysis of demographic trends, technological developments, and regulatory changes that would influence industry evolution and strategic requirements over the next decade. The client acquisition and retention strategies that Victoria had developed leveraged Sterling's enhanced capabilities and superior service delivery to attract high-value prospects while strengthening relationships with existing families through expanded services and strategic planning support. Her approach emphasized demonstrable value creation and competitive differentiation rather than traditional marketing techniques that relied primarily on networking and promotional activities. Victoria's innovation leadership within Sterling included identification and evaluation of emerging market opportunities, service delivery methodologies, and technological solutions that could enhance competitive capabilities while providing superior client outcomes and operational efficiency. Her innovation approach balanced strategic risk-taking with systematic evaluation that guided investment decisions and competitive positioning initiatives. The organizational development initiatives that Victoria had implemented created frameworks for systematic improvement and adaptation that could support Sterling's continued evolution while maintaining service quality standards and institutional identity. Her approach to organizational development emphasized collaborative excellence, continuous learning, and strategic alignment that positioned Sterling for sustained competitive advantage and market leadership. Victoria's influence on Sterling's strategic planning process had transformed the firm's approach to competitive analysis, market positioning, and business development, from reactive adaptation to proactive strategic leadership that anticipated market trends and positioned Sterling advantageously relative to competitors. Her strategic planning methodology incorporated comprehensive analysis of industry dynamics, client requirements, and organizational capabilities that informed decision-making and resource allocation. The risk management frameworks that Victoria had established throughout Sterling's operations provided comprehensive protection against various threat scenarios while enabling strategic opportunity pursuit that balanced growth objectives with prudent risk management. Her risk management approach incorporated lessons learned from market volatility events while establishing monitoring systems that provided early warning indicators and protective measures for different risk categories. Victoria's leadership of Sterling's professional development initiatives had created comprehensive training programs and career advancement pathways that attracted high-quality talent while building institutional capabilities that supported business growth and competitive positioning. Her approach to professional development emphasized analytical excellence, relationship management skills, and strategic thinking that prepared Sterling's team for increasingly sophisticated client requirements and competitive challenges. The cultural transformation that Victoria had initiated within Sterling emphasized values-based decision-making, collaborative excellence, and continuous improvement that created sustainable competitive advantages, while maintaining institutional identity and professional standards. Her cultural leadership recognized that organizational capabilities rather than individual achievements or temporary market positioning created the foundation for long-term competitive success and market leadership within the wealth management industry. The confrontation that would define Victoria Chen's ultimate career trajectory occurred during what should have been a routine executive committee meeting on June 7, when Marcus Blackwood made a strategic miscalculation that exposed the depth of his resentment regarding Victoria's advancement and revealed his determination to undermine her authority despite her proven competence and institutional value. The incident began when Victoria presented quarterly performance metrics that demonstrated significant improvements in client satisfaction, portfolio performance, and operational efficiency resulting from her strategic initiatives and leadership development programs. Marcus's response to Victoria's performance presentation revealed systematic efforts to discredit her achievements while positioning himself as the primary architect of Sterling's recent success, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. His comments suggested that Victoria's contributions represented routine administrative support rather than strategic leadership, while claiming credit for initiatives that he had actively opposed during their development and implementation phases. This attempted appropriation of Victoria's work followed patterns that had characterized their professional relationship since her initial advancement to director-level responsibilities. The executive committee's reaction to Marcus's claims revealed varying degrees of support and skepticism among senior leadership regarding his assertions about Victoria's role in Sterling's performance improvements. Chairman Robert Harrison and several board members who had witnessed Victoria's crisis management expertise and strategic planning capabilities appeared uncomfortable with Marcus's characterization of her contributions, while other committee members seemed uncertain about the actual scope of Victoria's responsibilities and achievements. Victoria faced a critical decision about how to respond to Marcus's deliberate misrepresentation of her work and strategic value to Sterling's competitive positioning. Her options ranged from diplomatic deflection that might preserve working relationships while accepting continued credit appropriation, to direct confrontation that could expose the systematic attribution problems that had characterized her entire tenure at Sterling, but might create irreparable organizational conflicts and political complications. The tension in the executive committee meeting escalated when Marcus explicitly recommended that Victoria's strategic planning responsibilities be transferred to his direct oversight to ensure appropriate coordination with Sterling's traditional business development approaches and establish client relationship management protocols. His recommendation represented a direct challenge to Victoria's authority while attempting to subordinate her strategic leadership role under his supervisory control, despite his demonstrated incompetence in these areas. Patricia Wellington's intervention during the meeting provided crucial support for Victoria by presenting detailed documentation of her strategic contributions and measurable performance improvements that contradicted Marcus's claims about her limited role in Sterling's recent success. Patricia's presentation included specific examples of Victoria's crisis management achievements, client relationship development, and operational enhancements that had generated substantial business value, while positioning Sterling for sustained competitive advantage and market leadership. Victoria's response to the confrontation demonstrated strategic thinking and professional maturity that impressed committee members, while exposing Marcus's fundamental misunderstanding of contemporary wealth management requirements and competitive dynamics. Her presentation of comprehensive performance data and strategic analysis revealed the depth of her institutional knowledge, while highlighting Marcus's inability to contribute meaningfully to Sterling's strategic planning and competitive positioning initiatives. The committee discussion that followed Victoria's response revealed fundamental disagreements about Sterling's future direction and the leadership capabilities required for continued success in evolving financial services markets. Conservative committee members supported maintaining traditional approaches and existing hierarchical structures, while progressive members advocated for embracing innovation and recognizing exceptional talent regardless of conventional advancement pathways or credential requirements. Marcus's escalating attacks on Victoria's competence and institutional value during the meeting revealed personal animosity that transcended professional disagreements to encompass systematic efforts to undermine her authority and diminish her strategic influence within Sterling's organizational structure. His comments included suggestions that Victoria's rapid advancement had resulted from political accommodation rather than demonstrated competence, despite overwhelming evidence of her exceptional performance and strategic contributions. Victoria's realization during the confrontation centered on the recognition that her professional advancement within Sterling would remain constrained by organizational politics and personal antagonism that prevented recognition of her actual capabilities and strategic value. The incident crystallized her understanding that continued excellence and institutional contributions would not overcome systematic resistance to her leadership role and strategic influence within Sterling's traditional hierarchical structure. The immediate aftermath of the executive committee meeting included private conversations between Victoria and several board members who expressed support for her strategic leadership, while acknowledging the political challenges created by internal resistance to her authority and institutional influence. These conversations revealed that her professional advancement had created organizational tensions that might limit her effectiveness despite widespread recognition of her competence and strategic value. Patricia Wellington's subsequent meeting with Victoria provided candid assessment of the political dynamics affecting her career prospects within Sterling, while offering perspective on alternative opportunities that could better utilize her capabilities and provide appropriate recognition for her strategic expertise and leadership potential. Patricia's advice reflected her understanding of industry dynamics and organizational limitations that might prevent Victoria from achieving her full potential within Sterling's existing structure. Victoria's reflection on the confrontation and its implications led to the recognition that her professional growth had reached limits imposed by organizational culture and political considerations, rather than performance standards or strategic value contributions. The incident demonstrated that exceptional competence and institutional loyalty might not overcome resistance to fundamental change and recognition of non-traditional advancement pathways within established financial services organizations. The strategic analysis that Victoria conducted following the confrontation examined her career options within Sterling against alternative opportunities that could provide appropriate recognition and advancement potential commensurate with her demonstrated capabilities and strategic expertise. Her analysis incorporated considerations about professional growth, strategic influence, institutional culture, and long-term career objectives that would determine her future professional trajectory and strategic contributions. Victoria's decision-making process included comprehensive evaluation of her professional achievements at Sterling against the organizational limitations and political constraints that might prevent continued advancement and strategic influence, despite her proven competence and institutional value. Her assessment recognized that her transformation from undervalued employee to strategic leader had created opportunities while also generating resistance that could limit her future effectiveness and professional development. The external opportunities that had emerged from Victoria's industry recognition and professional reputation provided alternative pathways for career advancement that could offer immediate strategic authority and institutional influence, without the political complications and hierarchical constraints that characterized her current situation at Sterling. These opportunities included positions at competing firms, consulting arrangements, and entrepreneurial ventures that could leverage her expertise and strategic capabilities. Victoria's consultation with trusted advisors and industry mentors provided perspective on her career options, while reinforcing her understanding of her strategic value and market positioning within the wealth management industry. These conversations validated her assessment of Sterling's limitations, while confirming that her capabilities and track record would support successful transitions to organizations that could provide appropriate recognition and advancement opportunities. The emotional component of Victoria's decision-making process included recognition that her professional identity and career objectives had evolved beyond what Sterling could accommodate, despite her significant contributions to the firm's competitive positioning and strategic development. Her growth as strategic leader and industry expert had created aspirations and capabilities that exceeded the advancement opportunities available within Sterling's traditional organizational structure and cultural limitations. Victoria's final assessment of her situation at Sterling concluded that her professional development and strategic contributions had reached their maximum potential within the firm's existing structure, while her continued advancement required organizational changes that appeared unlikely given the resistance she had encountered and the political dynamics that constrained her authority and institutional influence despite her proven competence and strategic value. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.